Stop for a moment. Do not scroll past this message. Do not dismiss it as another set of words passing through your day. There is a reason your eyes are on these lines right now. There is a reason your heart feels something stirring inside of you. All the things you could be doing, out of all the voices competing for your attention, you are here. You are listening. You are searching. And deep within your spirit, there's a question that's been growing louder with every challenge, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer, and every sleepless night. That question is simple. God, are you still with me? Today, I want you to hear this with absolute clarity, commanding you to watch this message, because He does not want you to walk away from this moment carrying the same fear, the same doubt, and the same burden that you brought with you. God wants to remind you that He sees what nobody else sees. He knows what nobody else knows. He understands every hidden battle, every silent tear, every private struggle, and every dream you have almost given up on. This is not a coincidence. This is not an accident. This is a divine appointment. People listening right now who feel exhausted. You have fought battles that nobody applauded. You have carried responsibilities that nobody appreciated. You have endured seasons that tested every ounce of your strength. Smiled when your heart was breaking. You encouraged others while secretly feeling discouraged yourself. You kept moving forward when every part of you wanted to stop. And because the journey has been so long, because the waiting has been so difficult, the answers have not arrived in the timing you expected. You have begun to wonder whether your efforts matter. You have begun to question whether God is still working behind the scenes. But hear this truth today. God has not forgotten you, not abandoned you. God has not lost sight of your situation. The same God who created the heavens and the earth, the same God who commands the stars to shine and the oceans to remain within their boundaries, knows your name, knows your story, exactly where you are. The greatest mistake people make during difficult seasons is believing that silence means absence. Just because God is quiet does not mean God is gone. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean nothing is happening. Seeds beneath the soil that appear lifeless before they suddenly break through the ground. There are seasons in nature where everything looks barren before new growth begins. In the same way, moments in life when God is preparing something extraordinary beneath the surface while you see nothing but delay. What you call waiting, God may call preparation. What you call a setback, God may call protection. What you call an ending, God may call the beginning of something greater than you imagined. You must understand that God's plans are not limited by human timelines. Human beings become discouraged because they judge their future by their present circumstances. Look at what is happening now and assume it will always be this way. They see a closed door and conclude that no opportunity exists. They experience one disappointment and assume every future attempt will fail. God does not operate within the limitations of human perception. God sees the entire picture. God sees the connections you cannot see. God sees the opportunities you have not yet encountered. God sees the people you have not yet met. God sees the blessings that are still making their way toward your life. And because God sees what you cannot see, you must learn to trust Him even when the road ahead appears uncertain. There is power in refusing to give up. Power in standing firm when everything around you tells you to quit. There is power in maintaining faith when circumstances seem determined to destroy it. The enemy of your peace wants you to believe that your story is over. Fear wants you to believe that your best days are behind you. Doubt wants you to believe that your dreams are impossible. But God is speaking a different message over your life. God is saying that your future is not determined by your fears. Future is not determined by your failures. Your future is not determined by the opinions of people who never understood your purpose. Your future is in the hands of the one who created you. Think about how many times God has already carried you through situations that seemed impossible. There were moments when you thought you would never recover. There were nights when you believed the pain would never end. challenges that look larger than your strengths and greater than your ability. Yet here you are. You survived what you thought would destroy you. You overcame obstacles that once appeared insurmountable. Endured storms that threatened to break you apart. Why? Because God was with you then, and God is with you now. The same divine power that sustained you yesterday is sustaining you today. Many people are waiting for a sign while ignoring the evidence already present in their lives. The fact that you are still standing is a sign. The fact that your heart still carries hope is a sign. The fact that you continue to move forward despite every challenge is a sign. The fact that you have not surrendered to despair is a sign. God has been working in your life in ways you may not have recognized. Every lesson you learn through hardship, every strength developed through adversity, every piece of wisdom gained through experience has been part of a greater preparation process. Sometimes God allows challenges not to punish you, but to strengthen you. Gold is refined through fire. Character is developed through testing. Wisdom is gained through experience. Strength is built through resistance. If every road were easy, you would never discover how much faith resides within you. If every answer arrived immediately, never learn the value of trust. If every obstacle disappeared instantly, you would never realize how powerful God can be in the middle of difficulty. Struggles you face today may be shaping the person you need to become for the blessings God has prepared tomorrow. There are dreams within you that refuse to die. Visions that continue to return no matter how many times life tries to discourage you. There are goals that remain alive in your spirit despite every setback. Do not ignore those dreams. Do not dismiss those visions. God often plants purpose within the heart before revealing the path toward its fulfillment. The dream itself may be evidence that God has placed something meaningful within you. Your responsibility is not to understand every detail of the journey. Your responsibility is to remain faithful, remain obedient, and remain willing to move forward one step at a time. Too many people spend their lives waiting for perfect conditions before taking action. They wait until fear disappears, until certainty arrives. They wait until every question is answered. But faith does not require perfect conditions. Faith moves forward despite uncertainty. Faith continues despite fear. Faith believes despite a lack of visible evidence. Faith understands that God's power is not dependent upon favorable circumstances. When God decides to open a door, no obstacle can permanently keep it closed. When God decides to create an opportunity, no limitation can prevent its arrival. Stop measuring your worth by temporary circumstances. A difficult season does not decrease your value. A failure does not define your identity. A rejection does not determine your destiny. The opinions of others do not establish your purpose. God created you with intention. God formed you with wisdom. God placed unique gifts, abilities, and potential within you. The world may overlook you, but God does not overlook you. People may misunderstand you, but God understands you completely. May underestimate you, but God knows exactly what He has placed inside you. There are listeners right now who feel trapped by regret. You continue to replay past mistakes. You continue to punish yourself for decisions you wish you could change. Continue to carry guilt from seasons that have already ended. But hear this clearly. You cannot move confidently into the future while remaining chained to the past. Learn from your mistakes, but do not live inside them. Grow from your failures. Do not identify yourself by them. God's mercy is greater than your worst moment. God's wisdom is greater than your confusion. God's ability to restore is greater than your ability to ruin. Truth is that some of the greatest transformations begin when people reach the end of their own strength. When human solutions fail, when personal confidence collapses, when every familiar strategy stops working, we often discover a deeper dependence upon God. And it is in that dependence that extraordinary change begins. God can accomplish more through a surrendered heart than human effort can accomplish through endless striving. Stop trying to control everything and start trusting God more deeply. You create space for divine wisdom to guide your steps. Do not allow fear to become the narrator of your future. Fear tells stories that have not happened. Fear predicts disasters that never arrive. Fear magnifies obstacles while minimizing possibilities. Fear convinces people to remain in places they have outgrown. Fear steals opportunities before they even appear. But faith speaks a different language. Faith says that God is greater than any challenge. Faith says that every problem has a solution known to God. Faith says that no situation is beyond divine intervention. Faith says that what appears impossible to human understanding remains completely possible for God. There is a reason God brought you to this moment. There is a reason this message found you today. Perhaps you have been standing at the edge of surrender, ready to abandon a dream, ready to release a goal, ready to accept defeat. If that is you, hear this declaration. Do not quit before the breakthrough. Do not walk away before the answer arrives. Do not abandon the journey because the road became difficult. Some of the greatest blessings appear just beyond the point where many people decide to stop. Continue believing, continue trusting, continue moving forward. The storms of life have a way of convincing people that darkness will last forever. Every storm eventually passes. Every night eventually gives way to morning. Every season eventually changes. The challenge is remaining faithful during the transition. The challenge is maintaining hope while waiting for the sunrise. God never promised a life without difficulty, but God consistently demonstrates His ability to provide strength within difficulty, peace within uncertainty, and direction within confusion. Stronger than you realize because God has been strengthening you through every challenge you have faced. You are wiser than you realize because God has been teaching you through every lesson you have learned. More prepared than you realize because God has been developing you through every experience you have endured. The very things you once viewed as obstacles may become the foundation for future victories. Almost at all, the pain that almost broke you may become the source of wisdom that helps someone else. The struggle that tested your faith may become the testimony that inspires another person to keep believing God is not limited by what has happened in your life. Not intimidated by your circumstances. God is not confused by your challenges. While you see complexity, God sees possibility. While you see limitations, God sees opportunities. While you see closed doors, sees pathways that have not yet been revealed. Never underestimate what God can do with a willing heart, a faithful spirit, and a person who refuses to surrender hope. Today, make a decision. Decide that you will trust God more than your fears. Decide that you will believe God's promises more than negative predictions. Decide that you will focus on possibilities rather than limitations. Decide that you will keep moving forward regardless of how difficult the journey becomes. Great transformation begins with a decision. Every significant victory begins with a commitment. Every remarkable story begins when someone chooses faith over fear. As you continue through this season, God's timing is perfect even when it feels delayed. God's wisdom is perfect even when it feels mysterious. God's plan is perfect even when you cannot fully understand it. Trust does not require complete understanding. It requires confidence in the character of the one who is leading you. And God has proven His faithfulness again and again throughout history and throughout countless lives. So lift your head, strengthen your heart, renew your faith, release the burdens you were never meant to carry alone. Refuse to allow temporary challenges to convince you of permanent defeat. Refuse to let discouragement determine the direction of your life. Refuse to surrender the hope that God has placed within you. Chapter you are living now is not the entire story. The obstacle you face now is not the final outcome. The delay you experience now is not the end of God's plan. Commanding you to hear this message because He wants you to remember something powerful. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not defeated. And you are not alone. God is working even when you cannot see it. God is guiding even when you cannot feel it. God is preparing even when you do not understand it. Keep believing, keep praying, keep trusting, keep moving forward. The God who brought you this far will not leave you halfway. who sustained you through previous storms will sustain you through this one. The God who placed purpose within your heart is fully capable of bringing that purpose to fulfillment. And one day, you will look back on this season. No church at all. You will remember the doubts, the struggles, the waiting, and the uncertainty. But you will also see something else. You will see the hand of God guiding you through every step. You will see how challenges became preparation. You will see how delays became protection. You will see how difficulties became opportunities for growth. You will see how God was working all along. And when that day comes, your faith will be stronger. Your heart will be wiser. Your spirit will be deeper. Gratitude will be greater than ever before. Until then, stand firm. Trust completely. Believe boldly. And never forget that God is still writing your story. And His plans for your life are greater than anything fear, doubt, adversity could ever take away. There are moments in life when God allows everything familiar to become uncomfortable. The place that once felt secure no longer satisfies you. The routines that once brought peace no longer bring fulfillment. Goals that once consumed your attention suddenly seem too small. In those moments, many people become confused because they interpret discomfort as a sign that something is wrong. But sometimes that discomfort is evidence that God is calling you higher. Sometimes the restlessness you feel is not punishment, it is preparation. God is awakening you to a greater purpose, a deeper level of faith, and a stronger dependence upon Him. Your life can no longer contain the person God is shaping you to become. Do not fear the stretching process. Do not resist the growth process. Every expansion requires adjustment, and every elevation requires transformation. Understand that God never wastes a season. Every challenge carries a lesson. Every delay contains wisdom. Every hardship develops something valuable within those who remain faithful. Even the moments that seem meaningless, struggles that appeared unnecessary are being woven into a larger design that only God can fully see. What appears to be random is not random to God. What appears to be chaos is not chaos to God. The Creator of all things is never surprised, overwhelmed, and never uncertain. While people panic over what they cannot control, God remains in complete authority. While circumstances change, God remains constant. While opportunities come and go, God's power never diminishes. Many people spend years searching for peace in temporary things. They search for peace in possessions, recognition, status, or the approval of others. Yet every temporary source eventually disappoints. True peace comes from knowing that God is in control even when life feels uncertain. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the confidence that God remains greater than every problem. Peace is the ability to stand in the middle of a storm and refuse to let fear become your master. Peace is knowing that no matter how fierce the battle becomes, God has not surrendered His authority over your life. Listen carefully. The greatest battles you face are not around you, they are within you. The battle between faith and fear, the battle between hope and despair, the battle between trust and anxiety, the battle between moving forward and staying trapped in old limitations. The outcome of these internal battles often determines the direction of your future. That is why you must guard your heart and strengthen your spirit. You cannot allow every negative thought to take root. You cannot allow every fear to become a belief. You cannot allow every setback to become a permanent conclusion. Instead, remind yourself daily that God's power is greater than your weakness. God's wisdom is greater than your confusion. And God's plan is greater than your current understanding. There are people listening who have been carrying burdens they were never meant to carry alone. Been trying to solve everything through your own strength. You have been exhausting yourself, trying to control outcomes that belong in God's hands. Been worrying about tomorrow while forgetting that God already stands in every tomorrow you fear. Release what you cannot control. Release the need to have every answer immediately. Release the pressure of trying to force open doors that God has not opened. There is freedom in surrender. There is strength in trust. There is peace in knowing that God is capable of handling what overwhelms you. underestimate the power of persistence. The enemy of your purpose wants you to become discouraged before the harvest arrives. He wants you to stop believing before the breakthrough appears. You to quit while God is still working behind the scenes. But faith does not abandon the field before the harvest. Faith remains steadfast. Faith remains patient. Faith continues to believe even when visible evidence is limited. Greatest victories are often hidden behind the greatest tests of endurance. The question is not whether obstacles exist. The question is whether your faith will remain stronger than those obstacles. God is calling you to rise above the voice of limitation. Too many people have accepted boundaries that God never established. They have allowed failures to define them. They have allowed criticism to weaken them, allowed disappointments to convince them that greater things are impossible. But God did not create you to live imprisoned by fear. God did not create you to spend your life shrinking back from opportunities. Placed gifts within you so they could remain buried beneath insecurity. He created you with purpose. He created you with potential. He created you with the ability to overcome challenges that seem impossible from a purely human perspective. Difference between waiting and preparing. Many people believe they are waiting on God when God is actually waiting on them to grow, to learn, to trust, and to act. Preparation is not wasted time. Preparation is essential time. A tree that stands tall during the storm is supported by roots that grew unseen beneath the surface. In the same way, God often develops character before opportunity, wisdom before influence, and faith before fulfillment. God entrusted certain blessings to you before you were prepared. Those blessings might become burdens. Trust the process. Trust the preparation. Trust the wisdom of God's timing. You must stop speaking defeat over your life. Your words carry power. When you constantly declare that nothing will change, that you will never succeed, that your future is hopeless, you strengthen the change that already seek to hold you back. Begin speaking words aligned with faith. Declare that God is your source of strength. Declare that God is making a way where none appears visible. Declare that God is guiding your steps. Declare that God is opening doors at the right time. Faith-filled words do not ignore reality. Recognize that God's authority is greater than reality's limitations. Some of you are standing at a crossroads right now. You feel the tension between staying where you are and stepping into the unknown. One path feels familiar but stagnant. Path feels uncertain but filled with possibility. Understand this truth. Growth often requires courage. The next chapter of your life may require you to trust God more deeply than ever before. It may require you to leave behind old fears, excuses, and old ways of thinking. It may require you to believe that God can do far more than you have imagined. Do not allow fear of the unknown to rob you of the future God is preparing. Remarkable thing about God is that He can turn what was meant to break you into something that strengthens you. He can transform wounds into wisdom. He can transform pain into purpose. He can transform setbacks into stepping stones. Take seasons of loss and use them to reveal lessons that become valuable for the rest of your life. This is why you must never judge your story too early. What feels like a defeat today may become the foundation of tomorrow's testimony. Feels like an ending today may become the doorway to a new beginning. God is teaching you to walk by faith and not merely by what you can see. Sight focuses on circumstances. Faith focuses on God. Sight says the obstacle is too large. Faith says God is larger. Sight says the resources are insufficient. Faith says God is sufficient. Sight sees the mountain. Faith sees the one who created the mountain. When faith becomes stronger than fear, impossible situations begin to lose their power over your mind. You stop being controlled by what surrounds you because you become anchored in who God is. Do not allow temporary discouragement to create permanent decisions. Many people abandon their calling during difficult seasons because they mistake a temporary struggle for a final outcome. They walk away too soon. They surrender too early. They stop believing when they should continue trusting. Remember this, storm does not last forever. A season of testing does not last forever. A period of waiting does not last forever. God is able to change circumstances in ways that exceed human expectation. One moment of divine favor can accomplish what years of human effort could not achieve. There's also a deeper lesson God wants you to learn. Your greatest treasure is not found in what you possess, but in who you become. Character matters. Integrity matters. Humility matters. Faithfulness matters. A person can gain success yet lose peace. A person can gain recognition yet lose purpose. But when God develops your character, He gives you something that remains valuable regardless of circumstances. The person you are becoming is often more important than the blessing you are pursuing. Right now, God is calling you to elevate your expectations. Not because life will be free from challenges, but because God is greater than every challenge. Expect God to provide wisdom when you need direction. Expect God to provide strength when you feel weak. Expect God to provide peace when anxiety tries to overwhelm you. Expect God to create opportunities that you could never create through your own efforts. Expect God to remain faithful because faithfulness is part of His nature. Let this truth settle deeply into your spirit. Your future has not been canceled. Your value has not been diminished. Delays you have experienced do not mean God has forgotten His promises. The battles you have fought do not mean God has abandoned His plans. The tears you have shed have not gone unnoticed. God sees every sacrifice. God sees every act of faith. Sees every moment you chose to keep going when giving up would have been easier. And as you continue forward, refuse to live as a prisoner of fear. Refuse to be defined by what happened yesterday. Refuse to surrender your hope because of temporary difficulties. Lift your eyes higher, lift your faith higher, lift your expectations higher. God is still opening doors. God is still making pathways through impossible situations. Still turning darkness into light. God is still strengthening weary hearts. God is still answering prayers in ways that reveal His wisdom and power. So stand firm, remain faithful. Continue believing when belief feels difficult. Continue trusting when trust feels costly. Continue moving forward even when progress seems slow. Every step taken in faith matters. Every prayer spoken in sincerity matters. Every act of obedience matters. God is watching over your journey. God is directing your path. God is preparing blessings, opportunities, lessons, and victories that you cannot yet fully see. And when the appointed time arrives, you will understand that every challenge, every delay, every moment of uncertainty was part of a greater story written by the wisdom and power of God. Your task is not to know every detail of that story. Task is to trust the author of it with all your heart and continue walking forward with unwavering faith. Something powerful that happens when a person finally stops looking at life through the lens of fear and begins looking at it through the lens of faith in God. The circumstances may not change overnight. The challenges may still exist. Questions may still remain. Yet something within begins to transform. The heart becomes steadier. The mind becomes clearer. The spirit becomes stronger. Why? Faith shifts your focus away from the size of the problem and places it upon the greatness of God. And when you truly understand who God is, fear begins to lose its authority over your thoughts. Worry begins to lose its grip on your emotions, lose its influence over your decisions. The same challenge that once seemed overwhelming starts to appear smaller because your awareness of God's power becomes greater than your awareness of your difficulty. Many people spend years waiting for their circumstances to improve before they allow themselves to have peace. They tell themselves, when this problem is solved, then I will have peace. When this prayer is answered, then I will be happy. This burden is removed and I will trust God. But God wants to teach you something deeper. He wants you to discover peace before the answer arrives. He wants you to experience confidence before the breakthrough appears. You to develop trust while you are still in the middle of the process. Anyone can celebrate after the victory has arrived. Faith celebrates because it knows God is working even before the victory becomes visible. Recognize that every day is a battlefield for your attention. The world constantly attempts to pull your focus toward negativity, fear, disappointment, and uncertainty. Bad news travels quickly. Fearful voices speak loudly. It presents itself as wisdom. Yet God calls you to guard your focus carefully. Whatever dominates your attention eventually influences your perspective. If you constantly focus on obstacles, obstacles will appear larger. If you constantly focus on fear, fear will grow stronger. But when you focus on God, your faith expands, your courage increases, your resilience deepens, your confidence becomes rooted not in circumstances, but in the unchanging power of the one who controls all circumstances. Seasons when God intentionally removes distractions from your life because He wants your attention. Sometimes what feels like isolation is actually divine preparation. Sometimes doors close because God is preventing you from settling for less than His purpose. Sometimes relationships end because God is redirecting your path. Sometimes plans fail because God is protecting you from destinations that were never meant for you. Human beings often judge events based on immediate emotions, but God sees outcomes far beyond the present moment. What disappoints you today may be protecting you tomorrow. Frustration now may eventually become one of the greatest blessings you never expected. Do not be discouraged by the process of becoming. Transformation is rarely comfortable. Growth often requires letting go of old habits, old fears, old mindsets, old limitations. It requires patience when progress feels slow. It requires discipline when motivation disappears. It requires trust when the path ahead is unclear. Yet every great transformation follows a process. Strongest trees did not grow in a single day. The deepest wisdom was not gained overnight. The strongest faith was not developed without testing. God is building something within you that is stronger than the challenge surrounding you. He is developing endurance that cannot be shaken by temporary difficulties. He is creating depths that cannot be destroyed by temporary setbacks. There are people listening who feel as though they have fallen behind in life. You look around and see others advancing. You see others achieving goals. You see others reaching milestones you hope to reach by now. And quietly, comparison begins stealing your peace. But listen carefully. God never asked you to compare your journey with someone else's journey. The timing of God is unique for every person. Comparison blinds you to your own blessings. Comparison causes you to overlook your own growth. Comparison convinces you that God is doing more for others than He is doing for you. Yet God knows exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, and exactly how to bring it into your life according to His wisdom. The truth is that some blessings require preparation that cannot be rushed. Some opportunities require maturity that can only be developed through time. Some responsibilities require strength that can only be gained through experience. God delays something, it is not because He lacks the power to provide it. It may be because He is preparing you to handle it wisely. A blessing received too early can become a burden. A responsibility accepted too soon can become overwhelming. That God understands the perfect timing of every detail far better than you do. Never forget that God's resources are not limited by the limitations of the world. People often calculate possibilities based on visible resources, visible connections, visible opportunities, and visible circumstances. But God is not confined to what is visible. He can create opportunities where none appear to exist. He can provide solutions where no solution seems possible. Doors that human effort could never open. He can bring provision from unexpected places. He can arrange circumstances in ways that exceed your imagination. What appears impossible from a human perspective remains completely possible for God. Also a danger you must avoid. Do not allow success to replace dependence upon God. Sometimes people trust God deeply during difficult seasons, but once blessings arrive, they begin relying entirely upon themselves. Forget who sustained them during the struggle. They forget who guided them through uncertainty. They forget who opened doors they could not open on their own. True wisdom is remaining dependent upon God in both abundance and scarcity. True strength is recognizing that every good thing ultimately comes from His mercy, His wisdom, and His provision. God is not merely concerned with changing your circumstances. He is concerned with changing your heart. Circumstances come and go. Seasons change. Opportunities appear and disappear. But the condition of your heart influences every area of your life. A heart filled with gratitude sees blessings where others see only problems. A heart filled with trust remains steady when others panic. A heart connected to God finds strength even when external conditions become difficult. This is why spiritual growth matters so deeply. When God strengthens your heart, He equips you to face whatever lies ahead. One of the greatest lessons you must learn is that waiting does not mean inactivity. While you wait, continue growing. While you wait, continue learning. While you wait, continue strengthening your faith. While you wait, continue serving, believing, praying and preparing. Waiting with faith is different from waiting with despair. Waiting with faith expects God's goodness. Waiting with faith anticipates God's guidance. Waiting with faith remains confident that every day has purpose, even when the final outcome has not yet appeared. Do not underestimate the significance of small acts of obedience. Many people dream about dramatic moments of breakthrough while ignoring the daily choices that prepare them for those moments. Great victories are often built upon small acts of faithfulness repeated consistently over time. Every time you choose faith over fear, you are growing stronger. Every time you choose trust over anxiety, you are growing deeper. Every time you choose perseverance over surrender, you are becoming more prepared for the future God is leading you toward. Be moments when you feel weak. There will be moments when your confidence is tested. There will be moments when your emotions attempt to convince you that you cannot continue. During those moments, remember this truth. Strength does not come solely from yourself. Your strength comes from God. Human strength has limits. Human endurance has limits. Human understanding has limits. But God remains unlimited. When your own resources feel exhausted, power remains available. When your wisdom reaches its end, God's wisdom remains complete. When your vision becomes clouded, God's vision remains perfect. God is teaching you that faith is not merely something you speak, it is something you live. Faith influences how you think, how you respond, how you persevere, and how you face adversity. Faith is choosing hope when discouragement feels easier. Faith is choosing courage when fear seems justified. Faith is choosing trust when certainty is unavailable. Faith is choosing to believe that God's promises remain true regardless of present circumstances. And hear this with all the conviction your heart can hold. The story is not over. The chapter you are living right now is not the conclusion. The difficulty you face right now is not the final verdict over your future. God is still working. God is still guiding. God is still opening paths you cannot yet see. Still arranging details beyond your understanding. They are still strengthening you for what lies ahead. The same God who brought light into darkness, order into chaos, hope into despair is fully capable of transforming your situation according to His perfect wisdom. So refuse to let temporary circumstances define eternal truths. Refuse to let today's struggle convince you that tomorrow holds no promise. Refuse to surrender the confidence that God is actively involved in your life. Stand firm in faith. Walk boldly in trust. Keep your eyes fixed upon God rather than the storm surrounding you. Let your heart remain steadfast. Let your spirit remain hopeful. Faith remain unshaken. For the God who called you to keep listening, the God who brought this message into your path, the God who has sustained you through every battle so far, is not finished with your story. His wisdom is guiding you. Power is sustaining you. His mercy is covering you. And His plan for your life continues to unfold with every step you take in faithful obedience to Him. And so as this message comes to a close, final truths settle deeply into your heart and remain there long after those words have ended. God is not speaking to you today because He wants to entertain you. God is speaking to you because He wants to awaken you. He wants to awaken your faith strengthen your spirit, renew your hope, and remind you that your life is far more significant than your present circumstances suggest. The challenges you face are real, but they are not greater than God. The obstacles before you may seem overwhelming, not beyond God's power. The delays may test your patience, but they cannot cancel God's purpose. The storms may shake your surroundings, but they do not have the authority to shake the promises of God. When you leave this moment, return to fear. Do not return to doubt. Do not return to the mindset that says nothing will ever change. Walk away with the confidence that God is already working in places you cannot see. Walk away knowing that every prayer has been heard, tear has been noticed, every act of faith has been recorded, and every step of obedience carries eternal value. Even when the road feels long, God is guiding you. Even when the night feels dark, God is with you. Even when the answer seems delayed, not forgotten you, remember that your life is not defined by your failures, your disappointments, your struggles, or the opinions of others. Your life is defined by the God who created you, sustains you, and calls you forward with purpose. You are not created to live in fear. You are not created to surrender to despair. You are not created to spend your days imprisoned by anxiety about the future. You are created to trust God, to walk in faith, to rise after every setback, move forward with the confidence that the one who guides your path never makes mistakes. So stand up with renewed courage. Lift your head with renewed confidence. Let your heart be filled with expectation instead of worry. Let your mind be filled with faith instead of fear. Let your spirit be anchored in the certainty that God remains in control. No matter what you are facing today, God is greater. No matter what has happened yesterday, God can redeem it. What tomorrow brings, God will already be there. One day, you will look back on this season and realize that what felt like a struggle was actually preparation. What felt like waiting was actually growth. Felt like uncertainty was actually God teaching you to trust Him more deeply than ever before. You will see that God never abandoned you. He never overlooked you. He never stopped working on your behalf. Through every challenge, every delay, disappointment, and every victory, His hand was guiding your journey. Therefore, do not quit. Do not give up. Do not stop believing. Keep praying when it is difficult. Keep trusting when it is uncomfortable. Keep moving forward when progress seems slow. Keep honoring God when others lose hope. Keep standing firm when others choose fear. The breakthrough may be closer than you think. The answer may be nearer than you realize. Purpose God placed within you is still alive, and His plan for your life is still unfolding. As you move forward from this moment, carry this declaration in your heart. God is with me. God is guiding me. God is strengthening me. God is protecting me, preparing me. God is providing for me. God is working all things according to His perfect wisdom. I will not be ruled by fear. I will not be defeated by doubt. I will not surrender to despair. I will trust God completely, follow Him faithfully, walk forward with unwavering confidence. And may this be the moment you stop looking at your life through the lens of limitation and start seeing it through the lens of God's limitless power. May this be the moment your faith rises higher than your fear, hope becomes stronger than your doubts, and your trust becomes deeper than your uncertainty. Because the God who brought you to this message is the same God who will carry you through every season ahead. Stay faithful, stay strong, stay hopeful. Keep your eyes on God, keep your heart anchored in His promises, and keep moving forward. The story is not over, the journey is not finished. The best that God has prepared for your life is still ahead. Trust Him, follow Him, and watch what He will do. Amen.